This is Jacob Lenhoff Tours America. I'm Cam Boggs from Boggy Creek Studio Facebook page, and I also have a YouTube channel, Boggy Creek Life. Both my social medias concern building models. And Jacob got a hold of me and asked me if I'd mind doing a little interview, and I said, of course not. And just a couple of questions about how I got into it and a bit of showcasing some of the work I've done. So, with all that being said, let's go to question number one. How did you get started into building models and creatures and things? Well, I remember being very young building models. I believe my father got me into it. I remember him having a couple, and it started out with cars and stuff like that. The old, young, like 5 years old. It was like the little snap tight ones, no glue, no paint necessary. And it just went from there, I wanted the glue and the paint and the customize uh, very early. I wasn't happy with the snap type model kits, and I was also I loved horror movies, and you'll see where I'm going with this here in a minute. Because I remember being very young, around the same age, and in the local area in Ohio where I was born, we had a local TV channel, and they had a Friday chiller theater, and my grandpa would sit up with me, and we would watch these old B-rate horror movies, and my dad was into science fiction, and always showing me this stuff, and he loved a lot of the same things. And so yeah, that's where it started. So I took all that, and I really wanted to be into special effects when I was a child, and that was like as close as I could come, was building models. Uh, I really wasn't ever happy just with how they came out of the box. Now, I didn't have a lot of the figure models when I was young. They just didn't really have them in my area. It was mostly cars and planes and stuff like that. But I was always shooting up the planes and putting bullet holes in them with hot needles, and making oil splatter. And the cars, I would build it and then heat it up, and kind of smashed the front end with a brick, make it look like it crashed, and putting blood on the cracked windshield. I was never happy with just, right out of the box. And then, that went on for quite a while, probably till, mid-teen years, high school there. And I slacked off of it for a while, and my first figure model, I remember I was probably around 25 or something. I'd bought a vinyl Wolverine from the comic book store, and this is probably 19 93, somewhere around there, 94 maybe, probably about 95. Anyway, and it was vinyl, and I knew nothing about it. I didn't know that vinyl took any different preparation than plastic or anything like that, so I didn't even primer it. Tried painting it with the tester's enamel paint right out of the little bottle, like I did with the little models when I was a kid. And well, come to find out, if you don't prime vinyl, paint would never dry, especially enamel paint. It just never dries. So it was constantly sticky. I couldn't put it together, and I got mad and just threw it away. And then I went on with life for about another 20 years or so. And then when COVID hit in 2020, I don't remember exactly where it was, on Facebook or something, but I just came across a thing in my feed or something, and it had like these horror figure sculptures. And I always wanted to get back into modeling. I believe like maybe a year before that, I built another car, but I just wasn't satisfied with it. It wasn't exciting. Uh, and so I just didn't really, But I mean, I don't even know the outs to the car building as like a lot of professional car building model builders do. There's a lot that can get into that too. But I said to myself when I'd seen this post or ad or whatever it was, I was like, well, I always wanted to get into that, and so I started joining these groups, and I started asking these guys, well, hey, how do you do this? And where do you get these models from? And I mean, I didn't have anything. I was asking what I needed, because obviously my way, my knowledge didn't work. Plus, I didn't really have the access to the internet like you do now back then. And all these people told me where to go, told me to get a Model Mania DVD by David Fisher, which is like made back in the 90s, but it's like the Bible for building models. And yeah, and here we are today. You know, I love it. It's like I said, it's probably about the closest to special effects I'll ever get to come. So I'm content with it. I'm happy. Question number 2. Were you always into building stuff when you were a kid, like building blocks, Legos, and stuff like that? Well, I remember, I'm going to date myself here. I had Lincoln Logs, but, you could only build square structures with Lincoln Logs, but I still had them. And then a little bit later, I had a couple little Lego sets, no boo-hoo story, but I grew up kind of poor, so there wasn't a lot of money for, stuff like that. And that's just what it is, isn't it? And, but I enjoyed them. And for some reason, those I would always remember, the Legos, I would always try to build it exactly like the directions and make it look like things. And, then later on, after you take all that apart, because when you're a kid, that's just only lasts for so long. Maybe I probably had ADHD or something, and they just didn't diagnose you with it back then. But then I started building other things. But I was always getting books from the library, like on how I remember one is How to Score Cardboard. So you could, cut the cardboard, still keep one side connected, fold it, and I would like to build my own stuff, my own visions that I had in my head. I used to take flip top cigarette packs and make them into race cars. I would take the top off and slide it inside the box, and that would be the seat. And I would flip the little thing up, and that would be the windshield. And I would cut tires out and stick, just all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, I've always been into creating something. My father was not famous or anything, but he was somewhat of an artist. He used to draw me stuff when he was little. My mom used to sculpt when she was younger, and my dad turned into being an automotive painter. So still artistic body work and all that. There's still art into that, and that's what I do as a full-time job today. So yeah, I guess you could say it's been in my blood my whole life. And the third thing he asks is, please show all your stuff that you've built and what the inspiration is and how long it took me. Okay. Well, that will be part 2.